Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. No, you can't do that. Return my son. Return my son. As she screamed, Juzi immediately increased her speed and rushed out. She was already not too far from Huo Yuhao. She also acted very suddenly. Her human-shaped soul tool was the best she could wear. Once its soul thrusters were activated, she almost instantly teleported in front of Huo Yuhao. She reached out for Shu Yun Han. Huo Yuhao lifted his hand, and a strong force restrained Juzi. She was completely restricted. Right now, Kong Deming knew that it was too late to save her. Huo Yuhao spoke coldly, as he looked at Juzi from close range. Leave with your people. I won't retract my decision after I've made it. You must pay the price for your mistake. I trusted you so much before, and even told you about my closed-door cultivation. How did you treat me in return? Now, I can't bring myself to trust you again. I won't harm you. Leave. Return my son. Return my son to me. I can't let him leave with you. In your eyes, he's the emperor of the Sun-Moon Empire. You won't guide him properly. He is my last hope in life. Yuhao, I beg you. Return my son to me. Return him. Juzi begged. If this were the past, Huo Yuhao would have gone soft-hearted. However, the entire Douling Empire had been crushed because of her betrayal. Even the Star Luo Empire was almost annihilated, and the White Tiger Duke had almost died at her hands. Huo Yuhao hardened his stance and forcibly shook his head. Leave? There's nothing more to say. No. Juzi shouted. Huo Yuhao, you can't do this. You can't do this. Yun Han is your son. Space seemed to collapse. Just when Juzi said this, space within a region spanning 100 meters in diameter collapsed. Her voice was completely drowned in that space. Only those within this region heard what she said. Time and space seemed to stop at this moment. Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong were both astonished. So was the White Tiger Duke. Their expressions froze. Juzi was still sobbing. Little Yun Han was stunned. He lifted his head and looked at Huo Yuhao. This strange scene just paused in the sky like that. A dignified voice sounded all of a sudden and echoed in their ears. I told you before, never reveal this secret. If you reveal it, I'll take your son's life. It seems like you've forgotten my words. In that case. A bright beam of golden light shone. Huo Yuhao, Tang Wutong, Dai Hao, Juzi and Shu Yun Han only felt as if everything was spinning in front of them. In the next instant, they came to another place. When everything became clear once again, they were astonished to discover that they were above a golden patch of clouds. Even with Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong's cultivations, they couldn't sense where they were right now. It was just that they weren't thinking of this at the moment. Huo Yuhao's gaze was fixated on Juzi. He lost his voice as he asked, What did you say? Whose son is this? Juzi was already pale white by now. The dignified voice left her horrified. She quickly grabbed Shu Yun Han. After this, she kneeled down. No, please, I beg of you. Don't harm my son. It wasn't intentional. I was just afraid that he would harm my son. Please don't hurt my son. Huo Yuhao only managed to turn around right now. He also unleashed his spiritual detection. However, he was stunned to realize that he couldn't sense any changes around him, even with his immense spiritual power. What's going on? Where is this place? Huo Yuhao was stupefied as he tried to make sense of everything around him. He couldn't understand what was going on. At this moment, a beam of golden light shone in front of everyone. That dignified voice spoke once again. Aren't you afraid of harming someone else's kid if you are so afraid of harming your own? I've already tolerated this fellow for a long time. But heaven is benevolent. However, you still blurted it out. Hatred has blinded you and caused you to lose control of your emotions. You're walking towards destruction. I'll grant you your wish since that's the case. A golden figure slowly became clearer and clearer. A handsome man, who seemed to be only 20 years old, appeared in front of everyone. He had long flowing blue hair that drooped all the way down to his feet. If not for his burly figure and broad shoulders, one might mistake him for a lady. There were ripples on his long blue robe. Upon closer look, one would be captivated by the ocean blue on his robe. His entire soul might even be absorbed into this ocean. While the guy seemed to be only 20, the look in his eyes was very deep. It looked very hollow, but it seemed to contain everything at the same time. At times, there would be a purplish, moving flash that felt as if he could kill with a blink of an eye. He was carrying a huge golden trident with his right hand. This trident was very familiar to Huo Yuhao. He was Daddy. Tang Wutong suddenly shouted. Her figure flashed, and she leapt into the embrace of that young man. The blue-haired youth opened his arms wide and hugged her. There was a benevolent look on his face. He gently caressed Tang Wutong's pinkish blue hair. My dear daughter, don't worry. Daddy won't let you suffer. Tang Wutong turned around and looked at Huo Yuhao. Right now, the look in her eyes was already different. She was intelligent. From Juzi's words and her father's rage, she knew that her claim was probably true. Daddy, does this kid really belong to Yuhao and Juzi? Her voice was trembling when she said this. The blue-haired youth nodded. That's right. Tang Wutong started to tear up. She looked at Huo Yuhao and seemed to be shaking. She spoke as if she was heartbroken. Why? Huo Yuhao's mouth was already wide open as he tried to explain himself. Wutong, listen to me. I don't know either. It's impossible that he belongs to me. Impossible. I've never done it with Juzi. I've never. I admit to liking her before knowing you were a girl. However, we've only been friends. We've never been together at all. It's not real. This kid isn't mine. The blue-haired youth laughed coldly. Not yours. Shu Yun Han, do you know why he's called Shu Yun Han? It's because his name is compatible with yours. Do you really think it's a coincidence? Juzi, tell him. Is this his child? Juzi hugged Shu Yun Han tightly. When she looked at Huo Yuhao before turning to Tang Wutong and that blue-haired youth, she was already so dazed until she couldn't speak. The person with the dignified voice was actually Tang Wutong's father. No wonder he forced her not to speak. He didn't want his daughter to know anything. I beg you, please don't hurt my child. I beg you. I'm only a poor mother. I'm only afraid of my son being hurt. Please, I beg you. Juzi didn't explain, and only kowtowed towards the blue-haired youth while hugging Shu Yun Han. Tears flowed down Tang Wutong's face. Her eyes were already red when she looked at Huo Yuhao. No woman could forgive her man for having a child with another woman. No matter how much she liked him, she could only feel sorrowful and enraged right now. The blue-haired youth looked coldly at Juzi. You turned a deaf ear to my words. You shall pay the price. As he spoke, he lifted his hand. A streak of blue light flashed, and Shu Yun Han disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in his hands. Juzi frantically tried to leap over. However, space had been frozen. The blue-haired youth looked coldly at her. He already had his hand around Shu Yun Han's neck. Let go of him. A furious scream sounded. A figure charged forward and smacked a pair of tiger palms towards the blue-haired youth. It was the White Tiger Duke, Dai Hao. From the earlier conversation, he knew that the kid probably belonged to Huo Yuhao. Although he didn't know why Huo Yuhao suddenly became his son, he knew that if Huo Yuhao was his son, Shu Yun Han was his biological grandson. No wonder the war god empress said that she can't kill me earlier. Right now, there was no longer the Sun Moon or Star Luo Empire in his mind. There was only his biological grandson. How could he watch as his grandson was captured by someone else and was about to be killed? That blue-haired youth focused his gaze, and the white tiger duke froze in place. At the same time, Tang Wutong suddenly hugged him tightly. "Daddy, don't do it. The kid is innocent. Don't harm him." When the blue-haired youth heard her words, the look in his eyes turned gentler. He sighed, "But my daughter is innocent too. Who's taking pity on you? My poor little seven." Tang Wutong bit her lower lip. "Daddy, let's go home. I've missed you, and I've missed Mommy." As she spoke, she started to cry out loud. "Wutong, Wutong." Huo Yuhao only reacted from his astonishment at this moment. He wanted to leap forward, but the blue-haired youth glared at him, and he froze in place too. After this, blue lights flashed, and the blue-haired youth and Tang Wutong turned into two projections before they vanished into the golden clouds. A dignified voice echoed in the sky. "The Star Luo Empire must be returned, and the Sun Moon Empire must be remained the Heaven Do Empire. Otherwise, HMPH. Shu Yun Han drifted in the sky, and was immediately caught by Juzi, who regained her mobility. Little Yun Han wasn't afraid. His eyes were still open wide. He was looking at this and that, he was curious. Of course he wasn't afraid. He didn't sense any killing intent from that blue-haired youth earlier. Huo Yuhao suddenly turned to Juzi and roared furiously, "Why? Why did you say he's my son? How can it be? How?" Juzi hugged Shu Yun Han and stood up. She coldly looked at Huo Yuhao. "No matter what you believe, he's your child. Do you really think I'd give birth for just anyone? Back then, I knew Shu Tianran wanted me to inseminate myself with someone else's sperm. That was why I was already prepared. Do you remember when we were in the extreme north? Just when you fell unconscious in my arms. I'm not so despicable as to take advantage of you. I only use a soul tool to steal a seedling from you. After that, I inseminated myself with your seedling when Shu Tianran forced me. That's right. Yun Han is your flesh and blood. However, I have nothing to do with you. Neither does he. He's just a product of your genes. What have you done for him?" Huo Yuhao was stunned as he looked at Juzi. He also took a look at Shu Yun Han. Suddenly, he was very conflicted and emotional. No matter what, he hadn't expected things to turn out this way. Everything that had happened before replayed in his mind right now. He quickly recalled what had happened. Yes. He had been unconscious in Juzi's arms for quite a while back then. It must have happened then. No wonder he felt so drawn to Shu Yun Han the first time he saw him. When he thought of the moment when Shu Yun Han called him daddy for the first time, Huo Yuhao didn't know what to say anymore. Juzi hugged her son tightly and let her tears flow. She said coldly, "I only took your seedling. As for the harm I've caused to you, I can only apologize. However, what I want to tell you is this. This kid has nothing to do with you. He's my son, and the future emperor of the Sun Moon Empire. He'll take the surname Shu, not yours. You should know why I was afraid that you would hurt him. If you really hurt him, you would have regretted it for the rest of your life." The white tiger duke looked at Huo Yuhao before turning to Juzi. Suddenly, he didn't know what to say. Everything that had happened today was completely out of his imagination. Huo Yuhao shut his eyes in pain. Right now, he was completely confused. It wasn't easy for him to undergo closed-door cultivation for 3 years and become an ultimate Doluo. He even turned the situation around and prevented the Star Luo Empire from being wiped out. However, his lover had left him for something like this. Before Tang Wutong left, the sadness that she portrayed made him feel as if someone had cut his heart out. He couldn't even explain, because he didn't know what was going on. Was he supposed to blame Juzi? He had no energy to do so anymore. He had a son, but he was still a virgin. "Yun Han, unleash your martial soul," Juzi suddenly said to little Yun Han. Yes. Shu Yun Han unleashed a gentle streak of soul power. This caused Huo Yuhao to reopen his eyes. The white tiger duke also turned his attention to him. A white glow shone from Shu Yun Han's body. His eyes turned brighter. What was strange was that he had two pupils in his eyes. He ballooned slightly in size, and a vertical eye silently opened on his forehead. His hair also turned half black and half white, and looked just like the patterns on a tiger's skin. This was three-eyed white tiger. What kind of martial soul was this? The white tiger duke was astonished when he saw the double pupils in his eyes. At this instant, he was astonished to discover that the heroism in his heart had ceased to exist. He was certain that this kid was his descendant. Huo Yuhao also shook a little. He hadn't inherited the white tiger, but there were sunray patterns around the vertical eye. The aura that belonged to his spirit eyes, and the eye of Azura couldn't be faked. This kid only had one martial soul, but it contained the strength of the white tiger, and the spiritual undulations of his spirit eyes. It was a powerful mutated martial soul. The surrounding golden lights slowly dimmed, and space distorted. Shu Yun Han regained his original look and remained in his mother's arms. He had allowed space to change, but was mostly fixated on Huo Yuhao. He was a little curious, but was also a little weirded out as he looked at him. It was still outside Star Luo City, and it was still above the Sun Moon Empire army, but everything was frozen. Time and space had come to a complete standstill. No matter how confused Huo Yuhao was, he could still guess the identity of his father-in-law. He had to be a god. Apart from a god, who could possibly control time and space? Originally, he had thought that he was the peak of this world. However, he was still too far off compared to his father-in-law. So Wutong is the daughter of a god. No wonder she's so talented. Right now, he couldn't think of anything more. This was because the sealed time and space were reactivated at the next instant. No matter whether it was the army, those from Shrek Academy, the Tang sect or the Three Empires, they didn't notice anything amiss. To them, they only lost their awareness for a bit earlier. After that, everything returned to normal. Only those who were sharp noticed that Tang Wutong was missing. Juzi looked a little pale. Her son was already back in her arms. She flashed and widened the gap between her and Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao looked at her weirdly. Right now, he didn't know how to deal with the current situation. I'll keep my promise. I will. This time, a god is the witness. Juzi muttered. Huo Yuhao nodded forcefully. Juzi took in a deep breath, and turned to the generals of the Sun Moon Empire. She shouted, "Retreat." The words of the blue-haired youth were deeply imprinted in her mind. Huo Yuhao also believed that she wouldn't dare to go back on her word now that a god was their witness. In fact, both he and Juzi didn't know that the god was only saying it for the sake of saying it. As a god, he couldn't intervene in the lower realm. Unless it involved his daughter, he couldn't easily reveal himself. The Sun Moon Empire army slowly retreated. After a momentary silence, cheers burst out in Star Luo City. It was over. The war was finally over. Earlier, they still thought that they were doomed. But now, they had regained control of their destiny. They had even attained the final victory. It was a miraculous change. Huo Yuhao drifted in mid-air, and turned to the White Tiger Duke. The White Tiger Duke was also looking back at him. This iron-blooded marshal was no longer as tough as he was before. The look in his eyes was both gentle and complex. As for the Sun Moon Empire, his hatred towards them had diminished. This was because the emperor of that empire was his own grandson. His grandson was actually in control of the biggest empire in the continent. How magical was that? Let's go back. Huo Yuhao nodded at Dai Hao. He was already a grown-up, and a leading figure of his generation. Tang Wutong's departure left him heartbroken. However, he had many things to deal with right now. He could only search for her after dealing with them. A son, he actually had a son. Apart from Tang Wutong, he was also thinking about Shu Yun Han. As he sighed, Huo Yuhao flew towards the others from the Tang sect. Under Bei Bei's leadership, those from the Tang sect quickly came up to receive Huo Yuhao. Bei Bei opened his arms wide and gave Huo Yuhao a big hug. Apart from Tang Yue, who was holding the fort in the Tang sect. The rest were almost all here. Little Junior, where's Wutong? Where has Wutong gone to? Bei couldn't help but ask after he hugged Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong had disappeared for 3 years. They had many questions to ask. Huo Yuhao shook his head dejectedly and said, "Something happened earlier. Once we settle things here, I'll look for her. Eldest senior, Elder Xian, let's return to Star Luo City first." As everyone clustered around them, Huo Yuhao and the White Tiger Duke returned to Star Luo City. When he landed on the city walls, he received a hero's welcome. Yes, he was the Star Luo Empire's hero right now. He was a hero who turned the situation around. Because of him, the Star Luo Empire was preserved. There was even a 1,000-year pact that the Sun Moon Empire couldn't attack them. This gave the Star Luo Empire enough time to catch up to the Sun Moon Empire. Moreover, the Sun Moon Empire was unlikely to try to renege on this pact with such an invincible ultimate Doluo around. Shu Jiawei came over to receive him. He looked at Huo Yuhao before looking at Dai Hao. He had clearly heard Huo Yuhao's words earlier. "Brother Dai, I didn't expect you to have such a son." Shu Jiawei complimented. The White Tiger Duke laughed bitterly. "I only found out about it today. It's just that," he thought to himself. "I just wonder whether he's willing to accept me as his father." However, he didn't say this out loud. Huo Yuhao said, "Your Majesty, this matter is ended. We still have other things to deal with. If you have anything else to say to the White Tiger Duke, please do so quickly. After this, we have some personal matters to settle." It was time to deal with personal matters now that they had settled work matters. After he finished speaking, Huo Yuhao turned to Elder Xian, kneeled down on both knees, and kowtowed towards him. Elder Xian was astonished. "Yuhao, what are you doing?" Huo Yuhao lowered his head and said, "Elder Xian, I don't think I can remain in Shrek City, or the Tang sect. I have some things to do. I need to find Wutong." Elder Xian revealed a smile on his face. "Is that it?" Huo Yuhao nodded. "Get up, kid." Elder Xian pulled him up himself and patted his shoulder. "If Elder Mu could see how you are right now, he'd be delighted. Go and do what you want to. You've already contributed so much to the Academy and the continent. Although I don't know what's going on between you and Wutong, I'll still encourage you to do whatever you want. As for the Academy, don't worry. The others from the Tang sect are still around. Furthermore, there's a new member of the Sea Gods Pavilion." "Oh?" Huo Yuhao was stunned as he looked at Elder Xian. A fiery red figure walked out from behind Elder Xian. She jumped into Huo Yuhao's embrace and tightly hugged him. "Younger brother, you're finally back. I've not heard from you for so long. Do you know how hard we've been searching for you?" The person who came out and hugged Huo Yuhao was Ma Xiaodao. Her fiery red hair was brighter than before. Compared to the past, she was much more genial. However, the fiery undulations that came from her body were much stronger than before as well. She had been assimilating what she had learned when she was an evil soul master with her own cultivation, and everything she now understood. She was now the strongest among the younger generation of soul masters in Shrek Academy. She was an ultimate fire transcendent Doluo. She could possibly become an ultimate Doluo in the future. Huo Yuhao hugged Ma Xiaodao and became very emotional. He then recounted what had happened after he and Tang Wutong left. When Elder Xian heard about Yi Shishui and Long Xiaoyao's deaths, there was a heavy look on his face. He was the only elderly ultimate Doluo left. Both the twin holy dragons of Black and White and the death god Doluo were gone. The situation was very critical then. I couldn't inform the Academy first. Also, I only went into closed-door cultivation with Wutong after Juzi promised not to start a war in the next 10 years. However, who knew that something like this would happen? It's all my fault. I caused this disaster. The more Huo Yuhao spoke, the more depressed he became. Fate is making a fool out of everyone. Bei said, "How can you be blamed for something like this? You've already done exceedingly well. You killed Shu Qianran, watched two ultimate Dolor die, killed the evil-eyed tyrant king, and did whatever you did just now. You are a hero of this continent. You protected the last hope of the original Dolor continent with your own strength. You couldn't have done better. Huo Yuhao revealed a grin on his face when he mentioned the Sun Moon Empire. The Sun Moon Empire will cease to exist soon. It'll be renamed the Heaven Do Empire. 10,000 years ago, the Heaven Do Empire was in conflict with the Star Luo Empire. 10,000 years later, it'll still be the case. While the Sun Moon Empire used Soul Tool technology to influence people from the Heavenly Soul and Do Ling empires, the legacy of these two empires could also be said to have influenced those from the Sun Moon Empire. As for who will assimilate who in the end, it's difficult to tell. As long as the Sun Moon Empire ceases to exist, they might not be the final victor. He didn't say anything about being a god. After all, that would be taboo. However, he revealed the truth about his meeting with a god. Younger brother, what do you plan to do next? Ma Xiaodao asked. Huo Yuhao replied, I'm thinking of a way to find Wutong. Although I don't know where she is, I believe I can find her somewhere. As he spoke, he looked into the sky. Since Wutong's father is a god, she must have returned with him to the godly realm. I must go to the godly realm if I want to find her. To others, the godly realm was ethereal. However, Huo Yuhao was already at the gate to the godly realm. Ma Xiaodao looked a little dejected. When are you going to come back? Huo Yuhao laughed bitterly as he shook his head and said, I don't know either. After a momentary loss of concentration, Ma Xiaodao said with determination, Younger brother, go. Don't worry about the academy. Your teammates are in the Tang sect and I'm in the academy. I've already decided to remain in the academy forever. I'll be the next master of the Sea Gods Pavilion. As she spoke, she couldn't help but laugh. Not only would she possess authority and status as the master of the Sea Gods Pavilion, but she would also have heavy responsibilities on her shoulders. Elder sister, thanks. Huo Yuhao hugged her tightly. Ma Xiaodao smiled and said, I can only do this much for you. Go and find Wutong. You must find her. If possible, you must return with her in the future. Although it was only conjecture, she knew where Huo Yuhao was headed in the future. How could she not aim for the same target? However, she didn't do so in the end. She believed that she might not reach such a tier, given her abilities. An exclamation was suddenly heard at this moment. No, Your Majesty. It was the White Tiger Duke's voice. Huo Yuhao turned around to take a look. He only saw the White Tiger Duke kneeling on one knee in front of Shu Jiawei, who was holding a sharp blade to his own throat. Dai Hao, get up. Don't force me. If you don't agree to my request, I'll immediately die in front of you. Right now, this emperor of the Star Luo Empire appeared a little crazy. The White Tiger Duke was already very frantic now. It wasn't just him. Dai Yueheng, Dai Huabin and Dai Luoli were all here now. They were kneeling down behind him. Huo Yuhao furrowed his brow and walked over. Shu Jiawei smiled even more when he saw him. Yuhao, quickly convince your father. Huo Yuhao looked at Dai Hao. What's going on? Dai Hao sighed and said, His Majesty wants to relinquish his throne to me. What? Huo Yuhao didn't expect Shu Jiawei to resort to this. Shu Jiawei looked very honest as he said to Huo Yuhao, as an emperor of the Star Luo Empire, I've been useless. I'm also very jaded after all these years. There's no one outstanding in the Shu bloodline. But the Dai clan is only getting stronger. Honestly speaking, the empire will be very stable if you are the one on the throne. Moreover, the throne belongs to your clan. I'm only returning it. After this ordeal, Shu Jiawei finally knew what he thought about power and authority. This was especially so after Huo Yuhao's arrival. Seeing Huo Yuhao destroy the formidable Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion on his own, Shu Jiawei secretly swore to himself that he would rather relinquish the throne to Huo Yuhao than remain on it if the Star Luo Empire survived the crisis. Everything that happened next was even more dramatic. Huo Yuhao was actually the White Tiger Duke's son. Shu Jiawei immediately thought of a brilliant idea. Giving the throne to Huo Yuhao wasn't as convenient as giving it to Dai Hao. Dai Hao was more influential in the Star Luo Empire. Also, the Dai clan was part of the royal family. Although there was a conflict between Huo Yuhao and Dai Hao, Shu Jiawei knew that Huo Yuhao would protect the Dai clan from how he had saved his father earlier. If the Star Luo Empire was controlled by the Dai clan, it might actually continue to prosper in the future. This was why he made such a certain decision. How was the White Tiger Duke going to respond? Shu Jiawei was putting his life on the line just for this. Huo Yuhao was a little speechless. This Shu Jiawei was too intelligent. Dai Hao, cut the crap. Do you agree to my demand or not? Shu Jiawei tightened his grip on the blade and shouted, if you don't, you'll be a duke who killed the emperor. The White Tiger Duke let out a long sigh. Your Majesty, why do you have to do this? I have no choice but to agree. This video will end here.